Welcome student in first session from your textbook chapter number 11 force and pressures. This chapter is related to physics. One kind of energy which is used to do work. When we want to open a door we have to push the door handles. जब आपको doors open करना रहता है तो आप क्या करते हो? We have to push the door handle and when we want to close the door we have to pull the door handle. जब आप उसको close करना चाहते हो then we have to pull door handle with our hand. This means that it move a body or an object. It has either to be pushed or pulled. या तो आप push करो या फिर pull करो. So a push or pull. A push or pull on body is called force. Clear this one? So the direction in which a body is pushed or pulled is called the direction of the force. और जिस direction में उसको आप apply कर रहे हो, so that is called the direction of force. So we open or close a door by applying force. तो आपको जब doors को open और close करना पड़ता है then we applying the force. Now when we push the door to open it, we apply a force on the door. तो आप किस पे apply कर रहे हो force? Door पे. In a direction away from us. And when we pull the door to close it, then we exert a force on the doors in a direction towards us. Clear this one? Force, it is defined as a push or a pull, or we can say force is a physical quantity that can change the speed, state, direction and dimension of an object. Force are used in our everyday action like pushing, pulling, lifting, stretching, twisting and pressing. So for example, a force is used when we push, kick a football. A force is used when we pull the drawer of a table. A force is used when we lift a box from the floor. A force is used when we stretch a rubber band. A force is used when we twist a wet cloth to squeeze water. ये भी आपने देखा होगा. And a force is used when we press the brake pedal of a car. The fallen leaves of trees fly away with wind because the force of wind pushes them away. Even the roof of some herds fly away during a storm because the force of strong winds pushes them away. And when we fly a kite, we can actually feel the force of the wind on it. Clear this one? Now next one, effect of force or changes that force can bring. A force cannot be seen. A force can be judged only by the effects which it can produce in various bodies or object around us. Means आप force देख नहीं सकते हो, but we can judge by only that effect which it can produce in various bodies around us. A force can produce the following effect. First, a force can move a stationary body. Second, a force can stop a moving body. Third, a force can change the speed of moving body. Fourth one, a force can change the direction of moving body. Fifth, a force can change the shape and size of a body. So we will now give example of all these effects produced by a force when it acts on a body or an object. So if we kick a football, clear, kept on the ground with our foot, then the football starts moving. In this case, the force of our foot move a stationary football. So similarly, the force of engine can move a stationary car. From this example, we conclude that a force can make a stationary body move. Clear? It is a common observation that a football moving on the ground is stopped after some time. In this case, the force of friction of ground stop the moving football. जब two bodies जब contact में आती है, so there is a friction force are there. So that stop the moving football. So similarly, the force of brakes can stop a moving car. From this example, we conclude that force can make a moving body stop. Clear this one? Suppose we are moving on a bicycle at a certain speed. Now if someone pushes the moving bicycle from behind, then the speed of bicycle increases and it will move faster. On other hand, if someone pulls the moving bicycle from behind, then the speed of bicycle decreases and it will move slower. So thus a push or pull can change the speed of a moving bicycle. So but a push or pull is called the force. So we can say that force can change the speed of moving bicycle or any other moving body. Clear this one? If the force applied in the direction of motion of a body, its speed increases. On the other hand, if the force is applied in the direction opposite to the direction of motion of body, then its speed decreases. Okay, so let us take another example. When a ball is dropped from a height, its speed goes increasing. ठीक है, जैसे आप balls को height से मीन्स ड्रॉप करते हो तो its speed is increasing. Thus the speed of falling ball or any other falling body increases because the earth applies a pulling force on it. तो अर्थ क्या अप्लाई करती है फॉलिंग बॉडी पे? पुलिंग फोर्स अप्लाई करती है ऑन इट, विच इज कॉल्ड द फोर्स ऑफ ग्रेविटी. तो उसे क्या कहते हैं? फोर्स ऑफ ग्रेविटी. क्लियर दिस वन? इट इज द फोर्स ऑफ ग्रेविटी ऑफ द अर्थ विच पुल्स अ फॉलिंग बॉल टुवर्ड्स इट्स सेंटर and increases its speed. On the other hand, when a ball is thrown upward, then its speed goes on decreasing. जैसे बॉल को upward आप थ्रो करते हो तो उसकी स्पीड डिक्रीजेस हो जाती है. This is because the earth applies a pulling force of gravity on the ball in the downward direction, so opposite to the motion of the ball. Means ball कैसी जा रही है? upward direction में जा रही है और force किस direction में लग रहा है? downward direction में. Okay, so in a tennis match, when a moving tennis ball is hit by a racket, then the direction of tennis ball changes and it goes in a different direction. So in this case, the force exerted by the tennis player's racket changes the direction of moving tennis ball. Similarly, in a cricket match, when a moving cricket ball is hit by a bat, जैसे बॉल को हिट किया जाता है बैट से, then the direction of cricket ball changes and it goes in another direction. तो वो दूसरे डायरेक्शन में चली जाती है. Okay? In this case, the force exerted by the cricket players. तो इसमें क्या हो रहा है? Force exerted by the cricket players bat changes the direction of moving cricket ball. If the blow air from our mouth on the smoke rising up from a burning agarbatti, then the direction of motion of smoke changes. So in this case, the force exerted by the blowing air changes the direction of moving smoke. From this example, we conclude that force can change the direction of a moving body. Clear this one? Now, if we take a light spring, जो spring रहती है, and pull it at both the ends, और आप दोनों तरफ से उसको स्ट्रेच करते हो, ओके, पुल करते हो विद अवर हैंड, देन द शेप एंड साइज ऑफ स्प्रिंग चेंजेस. तो उसकी शेप और साइज कैसी हो जाएगी? चेंजेस हो जाती है. सो द टर्न्स ऑफ द स्प्रिंग बिकम फार्दर. तो उसके जो टर्न्स है वो कैसे हो जाते हैं? फार्दर हो जाते हैं अपार्ट, एंड इट्स लेंथ इंक्रीज है, उसकी लेंथ इंक्रीज हो जाएंगी. In this case, the force of our hand changes the shape and size of the spring. तो किसके थ्रू फोर्स लगाया रहा? अपने हैंड के थ्रू फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहे हैं स्प्रिंग पे, तो उसकी शेप एंड साइज स्प्रिंग की चेंज हो जाती है. Here are some more example in which a force changes the shape and size of an object. The shape of dough, kneaded flour. ठीक है, मीन्स जो डो रहता है आटा, तो चेंजेस ऑन प्रेसिंग विथ ए रोलिंग पिन. ओके, मीन्स जैसे बैलेंस से आप उसको प्रेस करते हो, रोलिंग करते हो, तो उसका शेप चपाती का चेंज होते जाता है. ओके, टू मेक चपाती, तो क्या बनता है उससे? डो से चपाती बना सकते हैं. वेन वी प्रेस द डो विथ ए रोलिंग पिन वी अप्लाई फोर्स. तो आप क्या कर रहे हो उससे? ऐसा नहीं है कि आप पिन मीन्स बैलन को लेके खड़े हो जाओगे, अपने आप उसका शेप चेंज. नो, वी हैव टू अप्लाई द फोर्स, ओके, विथ अवर हैंड्स टू दैट बैलन. ओके, सो दैट we apply force. So we can say that the shape of dough changes on applying force. The shape of kneaded wet clay, okay, गीली मिट्टी जो रहती है, changes when a potter converts it into pots of different shape and size. और जो पोटर रहता है, कुम्हार, वो भी गीली मिट्टी से मीन्स जो बर्तन बनाते हैं उसमें फोर्स अप्लाई करता है. So this happens because the potter applies force on the kneaded wet clay. Similarly, the shape of sponge, tomato, balloon, rubber ball और tennis ball changes on pressing. जैसे आप press करोगे तो उसका शेप जो चेंज होगा. एंड द शेप एंड साइज ऑफ रबर बैंड चेंजेस ऑन स्ट्रेचिंग. अगर आप रबर बैंड को स्ट्रेच करोगे तो उसका भी शेप चेंज हो जाता है. So from all these examples, we conclude that a force can change shape and size of a body or object. Now we can define the force as a force is an influence. ये क्या है? It is a influence, okay, which tends to set a stationary body in motion. जो stationary object को, stationary body को मोशन और मोशन में कन्वर्ट कर देता है और स्टॉप मूविंग बॉडी और मूविंग बॉडी को स्टॉप कर सकता है. क्लियर दिस वन? और विच टेंड्स टू चेंज द स्पीड, द डायरेक्शन ऑफ मूविंग बॉडी. स्पीड एंड डायरेक्शन भी चेंज कर सकता है मूविंग बॉडी की. और विच टेंड्स टू चेंज द शेप एंड साइज ऑफ ए बॉडी. और क्या कर सकता है? टेंड्स टू चेंज द शेप एंड साइज ऑफ ए बॉडी. ओके, क्लियर दिस वन? नेक्स्ट वन, टाइप्स ऑफ फोर्सेस. ओके, so there are two types of force, contact force and non-contact force. Okay, so first, contact force, force that act only when two bodies on physically in contact. Means जब two bodies contact में आती है physically, so that type of force is called the contact force. Example of contact force: muscular force, friction force and mechanical force. So first about the mechanical force, फोर्स एक्सर्टेड बाय मशीन. ओके, तो ये कौन सा फोर्स है? मीन्स दिस इज अ मैकेनिकल फोर्स. दिस इज एक्सर्टेड बाय द मशीन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल टर्बाइन्स इन हाइडल पावर स्टेशन. ओके, नाउ मस्कुलर फोर्स, फोर्स एक्सर्टेड बाय मसल्स. ओके, सो दैट the force that is caused by action of muscles inside the body, it is also called a contact force. Okay, for example, that animals carry out their physical activities. Okay, that children's picking up school bags, lifting weight, or that coolie and weight lifter. Okay, so animals like that bullock, horse, donkey carry the cart. Okay, coolie lift luggage, athlete using muscles to running. So these are all example of muscular force. Now about the frictional force, opposing force that opposes the motion. मीन्स जो मोशन को अपोज करता है. ओके, ऑफ वन बॉडी ओवर सरफेस ऑफ अनदर बॉडी. बॉल इज रोलिंग. ओके, बॉल रोलिंग अलॉन्ग द ग्राउंड ग्रेजुअली स्लो डाउन्स. ओके, आपने देखा होगा जब बॉल एक रोलिंग करते हुए आती है तो वो थोड़े समय बाद स्लो डाउन हो जाती है. ओके, एंड फाइनली कम्स टू रेस्ट, और फिर वो रुक जाती है. सो व्हेन वी स्टॉप पैडलिंग अ बाइसिकल, इट ग्रेजुअली स्लो डाउन एंड फाइनली कम्स टू स्टॉप. Okay, a car or a scooter also comes to rest once its engine is switched off. Similarly, a boat comes to rest if we stop rowing it. So these such experience are the action of that frictional force. Okay, in all this situation, no force appears to be acting on the object, yet their speed gradually decreases and they come to rest after some times. Clear this one? So what causes change in their state of motion? Force be acting on them. Okay, the force responsible for changing the state of motion of object in all these example of the force of friction. It is the force of friction between the surface of the ball and the ground that brings the moving ball to rest. तो वहाँ कहाँ पे frictional force apply हो रहा है? Surface of ball and the ground that brings the moving ball to rest. So the force of friction always acts on all the moving object. तो ये friction force कहाँ पे लगता है? All the moving object पे friction force apply होता है and its direction is always opposite. और इसकी direction कैसी रहती है? Always opposite. Since the force of friction arises due to contact between surfaces, so it is also an example of contact force. So another example, we write with pen, walk on the ground. So these are also example of frictional force. Next type of force is non-contact force. Means the bodies contact में नहीं होती है, so that is called the non-contact force. So force that act when his bodies are not physically in contact. Example: magnetic force, electrostatic force and gravitational force. Attraction or repulsion between objects, okay, can also be seen as another form of pull or push. Okay, do you have to bring the magnets in contact for observing the force between them? A magnet can exert a force on another magnet without being in contact with it. मीन्स जब एक मैग्नेट दूसरे मैग्नेट के पास लेके जाते हो तो बिना मीन्स कांटेक्ट किए वो फोर्स एक्सर्ट करता है. ओके, सो दैट फोर्स, the force exerted by a magnet is an example of non-contact force. Okay, so magnetic force क्या होता है? Force exerted by magnets on iron objects. Okay, and that force is used in the extracting scrap iron from the garbage. Clear this one? The force exerted by magnet is an example of non-contact force. So similarly, the force exerted by a magnet on a piece of iron is also a non-contact force. Clear this one? Now next one, electrostatic force from force of attraction or repulsion. Okay, ये क्या है? Force of attraction and repulsion exerted between charged particle. तो attraction और repulsion होता है between the charged particles. So that force is called the electrostatic forces. Okay, the force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged body is known as the electrostatic force. Okay, so this force come into play even when the bodies are not in contact. So the electrostatic force therefore is another example of non-contact force. Clear this one? Example, pieces of paper get attract towards the comb. इसमें क्या होता है कि जैसे आप कोम को जब पहले पेपर के पास लेके जाते हो तो उसमें अट्रैक्शन नहीं होता है. फिर आप कोम को जब ड्राई हेयर पे रब कर क्या हो जाता है, कोम जब आप उस पर रब करते हो तो ये चार्ज हो जाता है. जब आप इस कोम को जब पीसेस ऑफ पेपर के पास लेके जाते हो तो पीसेस ऑफ पेपर गेट अट्रैक्टेड टूवर्ड्स द कोम बिकॉज ऑफ इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक फोर्स. जबकि कोम और पेपर कांटेक्ट में नहीं आते, बट देयर इज ए इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक फोर्स बिकॉज देयर इज ए अट्रैक्शन आर देयर. क्लियर दिस वन? नेक्स्ट वन, ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स. Okay, you know that a coin or pen falls to the ground. Okay, when it slip off your hand, means जब भी कोई चीज आपके हैंड से स्लिप होती है तो it falls on the ground. Okay, leaves and fruit also fall to the ground when they get detached from the plant. means जब भी वो plant से detach होते हैं तो they fall on the ground. So when the coin is held in your hand, it is at rest. तो जब आप coin को hold करके रहते हो तो रेस्ट पोजिशन में होती है. as soon as it is released, जैसे आप उसको रिलीज करते हो इट बिगिंस टू मूव डाउनवर्ड. तो जैसे आप रिलीज करोगे इट बिगिंस टू डाउनवर्ड. तो ये ऑलवेज डाउनवर्ड ही मूविंग करती है. ओके, सो इट इज क्लियर दैट द स्टेट ऑफ मोशन ऑफ द कॉइन अंडरगोज अ चेंज. ओके, पहले आपके जब हैंड में थी तो रेस्ट पोजिशन में थी, जैसे आपने रिलीज किया तो वो मूविंग पोजिशन में आ गई और वो भी कहाँ जा रही है, डाउनवर्ड. क्लियर दिस वन? इट गोज टू डाउनवर्ड. सो ऑब्जेक्ट और थिंग्स फॉल टूवर्ड्स द अर्थ बिकॉज इट पुल्स देम. ओके, मीन जो भी थिंग्स है ऑब्जेक्ट है फॉल्स टूवर्ड्स द अर्थ, वो अर्थ की ही साइड में क्यों जाते हैं, अर्थ की ही तरफ क्यों जाते हैं, बिकॉज इट पुल्स देम. बिकॉज अर्थ क्या करती है, पुल्स द ऑब्जेक्ट टूवर्ड्स इट्स. क्लियर दिस वन? द अर्थ पुल द ऑब्जेक्ट टूवर्ड्स द इट्स. सो दिस फोर्स इज कॉल्ड द फोर्स ऑफ ग्रेविटी. ओके, सो दिस फोर्स इज कॉल्ड द फोर्स ऑफ gravity or just gravity. So this is an attractive force. तो ये क्या है, it is a one kind of attractive force. So the force of gravity acts on all objects. The force of gravity acts on all of us all the time without our being aware of it. So water begins to flow towards the ground as soon as open a tape. जैसे आप टेप को ओपन करोगे तो water भी falls towards that ground. Okay, flow towards the ground. So water in river flow downward due to the force of gravity. Okay, so water in rivers तो ये भी flow downward होता है because of that force of gravity. Clear this one? So gravitational force, force exerted by earth gravity. तो क्या होता है, force exerted by earth's gravity on all object. So that is called the gravitational force. So and this gravitational force always attractive in nature. तो ये क्या होता है, always attractive in nature because it attracts the object. Clear this one? For example, apples and that all types of fruits, that leaves, anything that falls on the ground. Thank you.